The Galactic Council chamber was packed. Every civilization had sent representatives. News of the Bright Hope rescue had spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Some called it heroism. Others called it reckless human violence. Everyone wanted to see what would happen to Captain Minho and his crew. Minho stood in the center of the chamber, his dress uniform crisp and clean. But no uniform could hide the tired lines around his eyes or the weight of 6 dead crew members on his conscience. Behind him stood Commander Hana, Dr. Yuna, and Sergeant Dohyun, still moving stiffly from his wounds. Ambassador Thelvan rose from his seat, his 3 vocal cords trembling with emotion. Captain Minho, you stand accused of unauthorized military action. You violated Council protocols. You engaged in combat without permission. You endangered your crew and your ship. How do you answer these charges? Guilty, Minho said simply. The chamber erupted in noise. Clicks, whistles, gasps from dozens of species. High Chancellor Veximar raised his hand for silence. You admit it? Veximar asked, surprised. Yes, Minho replied. We responded to a distress call without authorization. We fought the Kresh without permission. We violated every protocol you mentioned. These facts are not in dispute. Thelvan's expression showed satisfaction. Then the matter is simple. You broke our laws. You must be punished. I move that humanity be expelled from the galactic community and restricted to your home system. I'm not finished, Minho said, his voice cutting through the chamber like a blade. Yes, we broke protocols. But I would like the Council to consider what would have happened if we had followed those protocols. If we had waited for authorization that would take days to arrive. If we had requested permission that would come too late. That's irrelevant, Thelvan argued. Rules exist for a reason. Without them, we have chaos. Without them, you have 4,000 dead Lyrians, Minho said flatly, including 800 children. That's not chaos. That's extinction. Request permission to speak, a voice called from the gallery. It was Captain Soren of the Bright Hope. He stood with his surviving crew and many of the refugees. Veximar nodded. Granted, Soren walked to the center of the chamber. His crystalline skin reflected the lights, making him look like a living prism. Honorable Council, I am Captain Soren. My ship, my people, my children are alive because of what Captain Minho did. The humans violated your protocols. They broke your rules. And because they did, 4,000 Lyrians still breathe. That doesn't excuse their actions, Thelvan said. Today they saved you. Tomorrow their disregard for rules could lead to disaster. Perhaps, Soren agreed. But let me show you something. He activated a holographic projector. The chamber filled with images from the Bright Hope security feeds. They showed the battle. The Marines fighting. Dohyun taking wounds to protect Lyrian children. Dr. Yuna working until she could barely stand. This is what happened when humans ignored your rules, Soren said. They bled for us. They died for us. Not for profit. Not for power. Not for territory. For nothing except the right to save lives. We called them monsters. We voted to restrict them. We treated them with fear and contempt. And when we were dying, they came anyway. He turned to face Thelvan directly. You say their disregard for rules is dangerous, Ambassador. I say your regard for rules over lives is more dangerous. The Kresh don't care about your protocols. They don't follow your laws. When they come for your world, and they will come, your rules won't save you. But maybe the monsters will. The chamber fell silent. Thelvan's face showed anger and uncertainty in equal measure. Pretty words, Captain Soren, but emotion doesn't change facts. They broke the law. Then let me speak of facts, a new voice said. Dr. Yuna stepped forward. I am Dr. Yuna, Chief Medical Officer of the Indomitable. I would like to present my findings on the Kresh swarm. She brought up her own data. During the battle, we captured a Kresh neural node. We interrogated it. What we learned should concern everyone in this chamber. The Kresh have been observing the galactic community for decades. They've been calculating, planning. They targeted the Bright Hope specifically as a test. A test of what? Veximar asked. A test of the galaxy's response, Yuna explained. They wanted to see if anyone would come. If anyone could come. The Kresh concluded that galactic civilization is soft. Your ships are designed for efficiency, not war. Your tactics prioritize minimal casualties over victory. Your responses are slow, bound by protocols and committees. To the Kresh, you are prey. She pulled up a tactical map. The Kresh have 12 more fleets mobilizing toward populated space. Each fleet is larger than the one we fought. They're coming. And your current military forces are designed for peacekeeping, not war. You can't stop them with what you have. Commander Hana stepped forward next. I'm Commander Hana. I'd like to present a tactical analysis. The Council fleet is impressive, but it's built for a civilized galaxy. Long supply lines, comfortable crew quarters, weapons designed to disable, not destroy. In a battle against the Kresh, you'll lose. Badly. She brought up simulations. Your captains are trained to avoid casualties, to retreat when losses mount, to value their ships and crews above mission objectives. These are good principles for peacekeeping. They're suicide against the Kresh. The swarm doesn't retreat. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't value anything except consumption. And you think humans can do better? Thelvan asked. No, Hana replied. We think we can do worse. And against the Kresh, worse is what you need. We fight dirty. We take casualties you wouldn't accept. We endure conditions that would break your crews. We don't quit when we should. These traits make us dangerous to you. They also make us dangerous to the Kresh. Sergeant Dohyun spoke up, his voice rough. I took 17 wounds saving Lyrian children. By your standards, I should have stopped after the first. By our standards, I should have kept fighting until my body gave out. That's the difference between us and you. We don't know when to quit. And the Kresh fear that more than they fear your weapons. Vexamar leaned forward in his chair. What are you proposing? A choice, Minho said. You can punish us for breaking your rules. Send us back to our system. Keep us at arm's length. Maintain your civilized distance from the scary humans. And when the Kresh come, you can face them with your protocols and your rules and your civilized military doctrine. See how long you last. He paused, letting his words sink in. Or you can accept that sometimes civilization needs people willing to be uncivilized. Sometimes the monsters you fear are the only ones who can fight the monsters who want to eat you. We're not asking for trust. We're not asking for love. We're asking for permission to do what we do best. Survive and help others survive. The chamber erupted in debate. Arguments flew in hundreds of languages. Some counselors demanded humanity's expulsion. Others called for their integration. The debate raged for hours. Finally, Vexamar called for order. This council must vote. The question is simple. Do we punish humanity for breaking our laws? Or do we accept that their actions, however unauthorized, saved 4,000 lives and may have provided valuable intelligence about a threat to us all? The vote took minutes. The result was close. But when the count finished, the decision was made. Humanity would not be expelled. Instead, they would be given a new mandate. The Galactic Defense Initiative, a military force designed not for peacekeeping but for war. Humanity would lead it. Thelvan stood, his face showing defeat. You've made a terrible mistake. You're giving power to a species that doesn't respect our rules. No, Vexamar replied. We're giving responsibility to a species that respects life more than rules. There's a difference. As Minho left the chamber, Captain Soren approached him. Behind Soren, young Kiva held her mother's hand. Captain, Soren said, my people would like to volunteer for your new fleet. We want to learn how to fight like humans. You can't fight like us, Minho said gently. Your bodies aren't built for it. You'd die trying. Then teach us to fight beside you, Soren said. You showed us that courage isn't about being fearless. It's about being terrified and doing what's right anyway. We can learn that. Little Kiva stepped forward. She looked up at Sergeant Dohyun, who towered over her. When I grow up, I want to be brave like you. Dohyun knelt down, wincing slightly from his healing wounds. You already are, kid. You survived the Kresh. That takes more courage than you know. Will you really protect us from the Kresh? Kiva asked. Even though we were mean to you? Dohyun smiled. That's what we do. We protect people, even people who are mean to us. Especially them, actually. Because maybe if we keep protecting them, they'll figure out we're not really monsters. Kiva thought about this. Then she said something that would echo through history. You're not monsters at all. You're heroes who look like monsters. That's much more scary to the bad things. As the Indomitable prepared to leave Valoria Prime, now the flagship of a new fleet, Minho stood on the bridge looking at the stars. Hana joined him. We did it, she said. We're not pariahs anymore. We're protectors. We're still monsters to some of them, Minho replied. That won't change. Does it matter? Minho smiled slightly. No. What matters is that when the next call for help comes, we'll answer. That's enough. In the depths of space, the Kresh swarm regrouped and calculated. They had underestimated the humans. The medical bay of the Indomitable looked like a war zone. Dr. Yuna moved between beds, her hands steady despite exhaustion that would have collapsed most beings. Human casualties lay on half the beds. Lyrian refugees filled the rest. The air processing system struggled to balance the different atmospheric needs. "This one's stable," Yuna said, finishing a suture on a Marine's chest wound. The cut should have taken weeks to heal. With human regenerative abilities and Yuna's skill, it would take days. The Marine would have a scar to add to his collection. She moved to a Lyrian child next. The little girl's crystalline skin had fractured in several places. Yuna had spent hours learning Lyrian physiology from their database, working out how to treat them. Her hands worked carefully, sealing the fractures with a bonding agent she had synthesized. "Will I be okay?" the girl asked in broken standard. "Yes," Yuna promised. "You're safe now. The bad things can't hurt you here." "The human with scars saved me," the girl said. "The big one. A monster grabbed me and he stopped it. He was bleeding." "Is he dead?" Yuna glanced across the bay where Sergeant Dohyun lay unconscious. He had 17 separate wounds. He had lost enough blood to kill him twice over. His body was already healing, faster than should be possible, his enhanced metabolism working overtime. He would live. He would probably be back on duty within a week. "He'll be fine," Yuna assured the girl. "Humans are hard to kill. Why did he save me?" the girl asked. "We said bad things about humans. My mother told me you were monsters." Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then she said gently, "Because that's what we do. We protect people who can't protect themselves. Even people who don't like us." The girl thought about this. "That's not what monsters do." "No," Yuna agreed softly. "It's not." In the engineering section, Soman surveyed the damage with a grim expression. The Indomitable was held together by determination and improvised repairs. The shields were completely gone. The main cannon was fused slag. Hull breaches dotted the exterior like wounds. "How bad is it?" Commander Hana asked, joining her. "Bad," Soman replied. "We lost 30% of the crew. The ship itself is at maybe 40% capacity. We can limp to the nearest station, but if anyone looks at us wrong, we'll fall apart." Hana looked at the damage readings. "We saved 4,000 lives." "I know," Somin said. "I just hope the Council thinks it was worth it. We broke so many protocols doing this. They could use this as an excuse to ban us from space entirely." On the bridge, Captain Minho stared at reports. Official ones from the Council demanding explanations. Unofficial ones from other human ships expressing pride. Personal messages from crew families, both congratulations and grief. Lieutenant Jinho interrupted his thoughts. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission. It's from the Lyrian Captain Soren." "Put it through." The view screen showed Captain Soren. He was a tall Lyrian with deep blue crystalline skin. His face bore marks of exhaustion and grief, but also something else. Gratitude. "Captain Minho," Soren said, "I wanted to speak with you directly before we reach the station. We are processing what happened. What you did. You don't need to thank us," Minho replied. "We did what anyone should do." "But not everyone would," Soren said quietly. "We voted to restrict your movements. We called your species monsters. We treated you with fear and contempt. And when we were dying, when everyone else was too far away, you came anyway. You lost people saving us. Good people. I watched your Sergeant Do-hyun take wounds that should have killed him, protecting my daughter." "Why?" Minho considered his answer. "Because she needed protection." "That's enough." Soren's eyes reflected light like prisms. "My civilization is old, Captain. We have seen many species. We pride ourselves on being civilized, peaceful, reasonable. But when the crash came, our civilization couldn't save us. Our peace made us weak. Our reason didn't matter to them. Only you could save us. The monsters we feared." "We're not monsters," Minho said. "No," Soren agreed. "I see that now. But what are you? What do you call beings who fight when they should run, who endure wounds that should kill them, who save people that hate them?" Minho smiled slightly. "We call ourselves human. Nothing more. Nothing less." The transmission ended. Hana had been listening from her station. The Council won't see it that way. They'll see a human ship disobeying protocols, engaging in combat, interfering in galactic affairs. Thelvan is probably drafting charges right now. "Let him," Minho said. "We saved 4,000 lives. If that's a crime, I'll answer for it." In the refugee sections, 4,000 Lyrians struggled with new perspectives. They had been taught that humans were dangerous, that they were violent, unpredictable, savage. The teachings were not entirely wrong. Humans were dangerous. They were capable of tremendous violence. But the Lyrians had watched human soldiers place themselves between civilians and death. They had seen human doctors work until they collapsed, treating alien wounds with the same care as their own. They had heard human engineers singing while they welded hull breaches in vacuum, their air running out, laughing at danger. A young Lyrian named Kiva sat with her mother. Kiva had watched Sergeant Do-Yun kill a Kresh drone with a broken piece of pipe after his weapons ran out. She had seen him keep fighting with 17 wounds, bleeding red human blood, refusing to fall until she was safe. "Mother," Kiva asked, "if humans are monsters, what does that make the things that monsters fight for us?" Her mother had no answer. In medical, Dr. Yuna checked on Sergeant Do-Yun. He had woken up groggy but alive. The Lyrian girl he had saved sat beside his bed. She had insisted on staying there, refusing to leave her protector. "How do you feel?" Yuna asked. "Like I got hit by 17 Kresh drones," Do-Hyun said, then laughed at his own joke. The laugh turned into a cough. "You did get hit by several Kresh drones," Yuna said dryly. "Try not to make it a habit." The little Lyrian girl touched Do-Yun's scarred hand carefully. "Thank you for saving me." Do-Yun looked at her with gentle eyes. "That's my job, kid. Protecting people. Even people who call you monsters. Especially them," Do-Hyun said. "Because maybe if we protect them, they'll learn we're not really monsters. Or maybe they won't. Either way, they'll be alive to figure it out." Hours later, Captain Minho gathered his senior officers in the briefing room. They all showed signs of the battle. Hana had a bandage on her forehead. Salman's hands were covered in burn marks from emergency repairs. Yuna's uniform was stained with blood, both red human and blue Lyrian. "The council has summoned us," Minho said. "We're to appear before them to answer for our actions. The charges include unauthorized military action, excessive force, and violating council protocols." "What's the worst they can do?" Salman asked. "Expel humanity from the galactic community," Hana answered. "Lock us in our own system. Make us pariahs." "For saving lives," Yuna said bitterly. "For being scary," Minho corrected. "That's what this is really about." We reminded them what we are. Not peaceful traders. Not harmless neighbors. Survivors from a death world who don't know when to quit. They're more afraid now than they were before. "So what do?" Jinho asked. Minho stood. "We go to the council. We tell them the truth. And we let them decide if saving 4,000 lives is worth punishing." "And if they decide it is?" Hana asked. "Then we accept it," Minho said. "But we don't apologize. We did the right thing. If the galaxy can't see that, that's their problem, not ours." The Indomitable limped toward Valoria Prime, carrying its crew, its refugees, and the weight of a decision that would determine humanity's place in the stars. Behind them, in the depths of space, the Kresh swarm regrouped and watched. They had learned something important today. Humans didn't fight like civilized species. They fought like survivors, like predators, like the dominant species of a world that had spent millions of years trying to kill them. The Kresh had seen what happened when humanity answered a call for help. The swarm wondered what would happen when humanity stopped being defensive and became offensive. The thought should have scared them. But the Kresh were predators too, and they recognized another apex predator when they saw one. The galaxy was about to learn an important lesson. It's not the monsters you fear that you need to worry about. It's the monsters you need that should concern you most. The Indomitable dropped out of faster-than-light travel into pure chaos. The view screen filled with nightmare shapes. Kresh bioships surrounded the Bright Hope like predators circling wounded prey. The ships looked half alive, covered in organic armor that pulsed with sick light. Weapons that were part machine and part living tissue tore into the Lyrian vessel's failing shields. "Shields at 3%, Jinho reported, his voice tight. "Multiple hull breaches. I'm reading Kresh boarding pods attached to their outer hull. They're inside the ship." Captain Minho's eyes scanned the tactical display. 50 Kresh vessels, each one bigger than the Indomitable. The math was simple and brutal. They would lose. Every tactical analysis said so. Every bit of common sense screamed at him to retreat. "Pilot Tyke," Minho said calmly. "Take us in." Full speed, right through the middle of their formation. The bridge crew froze for half a second. Then they moved. Because they were human, and humans were very good at doing impossible things. Tyke's hands danced across his controls. The Indomitable surged forward like a bullet. The Kresh ships moved to intercept, but Tyke flew like a madman. The ship twisted, dove, rolled through maneuvers that would have killed most alien pilots. The crew felt their bones creak under the force. The ship groaned. But humans were built for punishment. Weapons range, Hana announced from tactical. Multiple locks. They're firing. Bioplasma erupted from Kresh weapons. Tyke threw the ship sideways. The blast missed by meters. More fire came. Tyke went into a spiral that pulled 8 times Earth's gravity. The crew's vision tunneled. Blood vessels burst in their eyes. They kept working. Return fire, Minho ordered. Weapons Officer Yunji grinned, blood running from her nose from the extreme maneuvers. Her fingers flew across her console. With pleasure, Captain. The Indomitable's railguns opened up. Not elegant energy weapons, not sophisticated missiles, just metal slugs accelerated to a fraction of light speed. Humanity's oldest weapons refined to perfection, pure kinetic violence. The first shot struck a Kresh bioship dead center. The organic armor that had evolved to resist plasma and energy weapons did nothing against metal traveling at relativistic speeds. The ship simply came apart, torn into pieces by physics and human engineering. One down, Yunji said. 49 to go. The Indomitable drove deeper into the Kresh formation. More shots, more kills. But the Kresh were learning. They concentrated their fire. Plasma blasts hammered the Indomitable's shields. Shields at 40%, Jinho called out. 30%, 20. I don't care, Minho said. Get us to that colony ship. Tyke pushed the ship harder. A Kresh vessel loomed in their path too big to avoid. Tyke didn't try to avoid it. He aimed straight at it. The Indomitable's reinforced bow, designed to survive micrometeorite impacts at high speed, struck the Kresh ship like a hammer. The bioship shattered. The Indomitable's shields flared and died, but the ship kept moving. Shields down, Jinho shouted. We're naked. Then let's make this quick, Minho replied. Yunji main cannon. Overheat protocols disabled. Fire until it melts. Yunji's eyes went wide. Then she smiled wider. Yes, sir. The main cannon was designed to fire in careful bursts. Heat sinks would cool it between shots. Safe, efficient, civilized. Yunji threw those protocols away. She fired continuously. The cannon glowed cherry red, then orange, then white-hot Kresh ships exploded. The cannon's barrel began to warp from heat. Yunji kept firing. The weapon screamed. Metal stress alarms filled the bridge. She ignored them all. The cannon finally seized up, barrels fused by heat. By then, 10 more Kresh ships were debris. We're through, Tyke announced. The Bright Hope loomed ahead, its hull scarred and broken. Kresh boarding pods covered it like parasites. Get us alongside, Minho ordered. Boarding teams, you're up. In the armory, Dr. Yuna pulled on her combat armor. She was a doctor, yes. But she was also human, and humans had a saying, every sailor a rifleman. She checked her weapon and led her team toward the airlocks. Marine Sergeant Do-hyun and his squad waited at the boarding tubes. Do-hyun was a big man, even for a human. His armor was covered in scars from a dozen battles. His eyes held the calm of someone who had accepted death long ago and decided to make it wait. Rules are simple, Do-hyun told his squad. Civilians first, always. If you see a Kresh, kill it. If you run out of ammunition, use your knife. If you lose your knife, use your hands. We don't leave until every civilian is safe or we're all dead. Clear? Clear, Sergeant, the squad replied. The boarding tubes connected to the Bright Hope's hull. Cutting torches burned through. The hatches opened. Do-hyun led his team into hell. The Lyrian ship's interior was chaos. Emergency lights flickered. The air stank of blood and fear. In the distance, they heard screaming. Kresh drones scuttled through the corridors, their mechanical legs clicking on metal floors. They were ugly things, part insect, part machine, part something worse. They existed only to kill and consume. The first drone came around a corner. It saw the humans and shrieked, a sound like metal tearing. It charged. Do-hyun shot it 3 times in the center mass. It kept coming. He shot it twice more in what passed for a head. It finally dropped. They're tough, one Marine said. So are we, Do-hyun replied. Move! They pushed deeper into the ship. They found Lyrians huddled in a cargo bay. Tall, thin creatures with crystalline skin that refracted light in beautiful patterns. They looked at the humans with eyes full of terror. Not of the Kresh, of their rescuers. We're here to help, Dr. Yuna said gently. We're going to get you to our ship. You're human, one Lyrian whispered. Monsters. Yuna knelt down beside a Lyrian child. The little one was crying, her crystalline tears leaving marks on the floor. Yes, we're human, but we're monsters who came to save you. Can you walk? The child nodded. Yuna helped her up. Then let's go. Stay close to us. They began moving civilians toward the boarding tubes. Then the creche came in force. Dozens of drones, skittering through the corridors like a tide of death. The Marines formed a line. They opened fire. The battle became brutal. Close range, desperate. A drone got past the line and lunged at a Lyrian family. Do-hyun threw himself between them. The drone's blades pierced his armor, stabbed into his shoulder and chest. Wounds that should have killed him. His blood flowed, red and hot. Do-hyun grabbed the drone with his free hand. His adrenaline surged, that ancient human combat drug that made pain irrelevant. He ripped one of the drone's legs off and stabbed it into the thing's optical sensors. The drone thrashed. Do-hyun kept stabbing until it stopped moving. He stood up, bleeding from multiple wounds. The Lyrian stared at him in shock. Humans shouldn't survive that. Humans shouldn't keep fighting after that. But Do-hyun just picked up his rifle and kept moving. Don't stop, he said. Keep the civilians moving. More creche came. The Marines ran out of ammunition. They switched to knives. They ran out of knives. They used their fists, their boots, anything they could. They broke creche drones with their bare hands, accepting wounds that would kill other species, and kept fighting because that's what humans did. Dr. Yuna worked frantically, patching wounds with one hand while firing her weapon with the other. She saw things that would haunt her forever. Humans taking hits meant for aliens. Humans standing over Lyrian children while drones tore into them. Humans dying so that people who hated them could live. Hours passed. Slowly, impossibly, they evacuated the civilians. The boarding tubes ran constantly, carrying Lyrians to the Indomitable's safety. The Marines fought for every meter. Every life saved cost them blood and pain. Finally, the last civilian crossed over. Do-hyun counted his squad. They had lost 6. 6 humans dead so that 4,000 Lyrians could live. The math would have horrified most species. To humans, it was acceptable. Everyone across, Do-hyun reported. His voice was weak from blood loss. Detonate the charges and let's go home. The boarding tubes disconnected. Explosive charges blew the creche drone still clinging to the Bright Hope's hull into space. The Indomitable began to pull away, its engines struggling. On the bridge, Minho watched the creche fleet regroup. They had killed 20 of the 50 ships. Good odds for humans. Suicidal by any other measure. Get us out of here, Minho ordered. Before they realize we can't take another hit. The Indomitable limped away from the battlefield, carrying 4,000 Lyrians who had been taught to fear monsters, and learned that sometimes monsters were the only ones brave enough to save you. 3 months passed since the Council's decision. The UHSN Indomitable patrolled the edge of human territory, far from the populated core worlds. Captain Minho stood on the bridge watching the stars drift past. His crew worked quietly at their stations, professionals doing a job they had trained years to perform. Commander Hana approached from the tactical station. She was shorter than Minho, but carried herself with the confidence of someone who had survived situations that should have killed her 3 times over. A plasma burn scar ran down her left arm, visible below her rolled-up sleeve. Still quiet out here, she said. Another peaceful patrol. The Council must be happy we're staying away from their precious civilians. Minho smiled slightly. They think distance makes them safe from us. Maybe they're right. Captain, Lieutenant Jinho called from the communications station. His young face looked troubled. I'm picking up something strange. It's a distress signal, but it's not on any human frequency. Put it through, Minho ordered. Static filled the bridge, then a voice came through. The translator struggled with the language, producing words that sounded mechanical and desperate. This is Lyrian colony ship, Bright Hope. Under attack. Shields failing. Please, anyone. Our children. The message cut off into screaming. Then silence. Then more screaming. The sounds of weapons fire. The sound of hull breaches. The sound of people dying. Jinho's hands shook as he worked his console. I've isolated their position. They're in the Chiron Nebula, approximately 6 hours away at maximum speed. The signal is, it's bad, Captain. They're being torn apart. Who's attacking them? Hana demanded. Scanning now, Jinho replied. His face went pale. Oh no. It's crash signatures. Multiple contacts. At least 50 vessels. The bridge went silent. Everyone knew about the crash swarm. A biomechanical nightmare that consumed entire civilizations. They didn't negotiate. They didn't take prisoners. They simply fed, growing stronger with each world they devoured. Minho pulled up the data on his command screen. The Lyrian ship carried 4,000 civilians. 800 were children. Their military escort had been destroyed. Their shields were at 15% and dropping. Life support would fail in 6 hours, maybe less. What's the nearest council fleet? Minho asked. Jinho checked his console. 4 days away. Even if they left now, they wouldn't arrive in time. So the Lyrians are dead, Hana said flatly. There's nothing anyone can do. Minho stared at the screen. The Lyrians. The same species whose ambassador had argued loudest for restricting human movement. The same species who had called humans monsters and abominations. The same species who had voted to keep humanity at arm's length from civilized space. Engineer Soman's voice came through the intercom. Captain, I heard the distress call. I should mention we're at 60% operational capacity. We haven't restocked from the last patrol. Our main weapons need maintenance. We're running on fumes and hope out here. Also, Hana added quietly, if we respond without council authorization, they'll use it against us. Thelvan will claim we're overstepping our bounds. This could give them the excuse they need to push us out of the galactic community entirely. Minho closed his eyes. He thought about his daughter back on Earth. She was 7 years old. The same age as some of those Lyrian children who were about to die. He thought about the promises humanity had made. To be better, to use their strength to protect, not destroy. He opened his eyes. Jinho, send a message to the council. Inform them we're responding to the distress call. Hana, get the crew to battle stations. Soman, I need every bit of speed you can give me. I don't care if you have to throw our furniture into the reactor to do it. Captain, Hana said, a warning in her voice. Are you sure about this? No, Minho replied honestly. But I'm sure about what happens if we don't try. Chart a course. Maximum burn, Hana smiled, the fierce expression of a predator catching a scent. Finally, someone who needs the monsters. The Indomitable's engines flared to full power. The ship surged forward, pushing harder than any civilian vessel could endure. The crew felt the acceleration press them into their seats. It would have killed most species. Humans had evolved to endure pressure that would rupture alien organs. In the medical bay, Dr. Yuna began preparing for casualties. She was a small woman with gentle hands, but her eyes had seen horrors that would break weaker minds. She had patched together soldiers who had lost limbs, who had been burned by plasma, who had been exposed to vacuum. She knew what was coming. Get the trauma bays ready, she told her staff. Stock every stimulant we have. Prepare for both human and alien physiology. And someone find me everything we have on Lyrian biology. I want to know how to keep them alive. On the bridge, Jinho continued monitoring the distress signal. It was getting weaker. The Lyrians were dying in real time and he could hear every moment of it. Captain, Jinho said, his voice barely steady. They've stopped calling for help. They're saying goodbye to each other. Parents telling children they love them. They think no one is coming. Minho's hand tightened on his command chair. Send them a message. Tell them we're en route. Sir, they probably won't believe us. We're humans. They hate us. Tell them anyway. Jinho composed the message and sent it. For a long moment, there was no response. Then a weak voice came through, the Lyrian captain speaking in broken standard. Humans? You're coming? Why? We voted against you. We called you monsters. Minho took the communication himself. Because you called for help, Captain. That's all we need to hear. Hold on. We're coming fast. We have 6 hours until life support fails, the Lyrian captain said. How far away are you? We'll be there in 5 hours and 45 minutes, Minho replied. Start moving your civilians to the core of your ship. Seal every section you can. Make the creche work for every meter. There are 50 of them. How many ships do you have? 1. Silence. Then the Lyrian captain laughed, a sound like breaking crystal. 1 ship. Against 50 creche vessels. You really are insane. Maybe, Minho agreed. But we're the insane ones who answered when you called. Start moving your people, Captain. We're not letting you die today. The communication ended. Hana pulled up tactical data on the creche forces. Her expression grew grimmer with each detail. This is suicide, she said quietly. Even for us. We're outnumbered. outgunned and operating at partial capacity. By every tactical analysis, we can't win this, Minho nodded. Good thing we're human. We don't know when to quit. The Indomitable raced through space, pushing its engines beyond safe limits. In engineering, Soman coaxed every bit of power from systems that screamed in protest. In the medical bay, Yuna prepared for the wounded. Throughout the ship, the crew made ready for a battle that no sane species would attempt. Behind them, the galactic civilizations watched through long-range sensors, waiting to see if the monsters called humans would save the people who feared them, or if they would prove every dark suspicion right. Ahead of them, in the depths of the Chiron Nebula, 4,000 Lyrians huddled in the dark, listening to the sounds of crashed drones cutting through their hull, and praying that the monsters would arrive in time. The chamber was silent. Thousands of eyes from hundreds of species watched the holographic display with growing horror. The video showed creatures moving through environments that should have killed them instantly. Fire that melted rock, cold that froze atmosphere solid, gravity that would crush most beings into paste. Yet these creatures walked through it all as if it were nothing. "This is Earth," Ambassador Thelvan said, his 3 vocal cords trembling. "A Class 12 death world. The highest rating ever recorded in our database." The Galactic Council chamber floated in orbit around Valoria Prime. Representatives from 200 civilizations sat in their designated atmosphere pods, each one carefully controlled for their specific needs. Some breathed methane, others required pressure so low it was nearly vacuum. A few existed partially in dimensions the others couldn't perceive. But they all shared one thing now: fear. The video continued. It showed humans hunting animals across vast distances, not with speed but with patience. They followed their prey for days without stopping. The prey ran, rested, ran again. The humans simply kept walking. Eventually, the prey collapsed from exhaustion. The humans, barely breathing hard, calmly finished their hunt. "They call it persistence hunting," Thelvan explained. "Their bodies don't stop. They overheat slower than almost any species we've documented. Their legs can carry them for distances that would cripple us. And their minds, they simply refuse to quit." A Karushi counselor raised one of her crystalline appendages. "Surely this is exaggerated. No species can be this resilient." Thelvan played another video. A human soldier took a projectile wound to the shoulder, the kind of injury that would send most species into shock and death. The human looked down at the wound, made a sound that their translators marked as annoyance, and kept fighting for 6 more hours. "Their bodies flood with combat chemicals when injured," Thelvan continued. "Instead of shutting down, they become more dangerous. Pain makes them fight harder. Injury makes them angrier. They have a saying, 'What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.' For them, this is literally true." The council chamber filled with sounds of distress, clicks, whistles, telepathic pulses of alarm. High Chancellor Veximar raised his hand for silence. His species, the Valorians, were among the oldest in the galaxy. They had seen many things, but even Veximar's face showed concern. "We must be careful," Veximar said slowly. "We are discussing a species that has achieved spaceflight. They have requested to join our community. Under galactic law, we cannot deny them without cause. Their existence is cause." Thelvan's voice rose. "They are predators from a world that tried to kill them at every moment. They evolved not to live in harmony with their environment, but to conquer it. And now they want to leave that world and enter our space." The doors to the chamber opened. Every being turned to look. A human walked in, and the chamber's atmosphere processors hummed louder to compensate for the carbon dioxide he exhaled, the poison that humans called breath. Captain Minho wore the dark blue uniform of the United Human Space Navy. His face bore scars that marked him as a veteran of humanity's civil conflicts. His eyes swept the chamber with the calm assessment of a predator evaluating terrain. Several counselors flinched back in their pods. Minho walked to the central platform, his boots making heavy sounds on the floor. Most species evolved in lower gravity. Their steps were light, barely audible. Human footsteps sounded like hammer blows in comparison. "Honorable Council," Minho said, his voice steady. "I am Captain Minho of the UHSN Indomitable. I speak for humanity." "Captain," Veximar said carefully, "we have been reviewing your species' history, your homeworld, your biology. We must ask, why should we trust you? Your species has only recently achieved peace among yourselves. You have fought wars that killed millions of your own kind. What assurance can you give that you won't bring that violence to the stars?" Minho stood silent for a moment. When he spoke, his words were measured. I cannot promise we are perfect. We are not. Yes, we come from a harsh world. Yes, we have fought each other. But we learned from that. We learned that our strength should protect, not destroy. We learned that survival means nothing if you survive alone. Pretty words, Thelvan interrupted. But your biology speaks louder. Show them, Captain. Show them what you really are. Minho's jaw tightened. Then he nodded. He pulled a small blade from his belt. Before anyone could react, he drew it across his palm. Blue blood, oxygen-rich blood, dripped to the floor. Several counselors made sounds of shock. This would incapacitate most of you, Minho said calmly, holding up his bleeding hand. Some of you would die from a wound this size. Your blood doesn't clot fast enough. Your bodies don't heal quickly. But watch. The chamber watched. Within seconds, the bleeding slowed. Within a minute, it stopped. Minho wiped the blood away, revealing skin that was already beginning to close. This is what we are, Minho said. We heal fast. We endure pain. We survive. But this is not what makes us dangerous. What makes us dangerous is choice. I chose to cut myself to prove a point. Not to threaten. Not to intimidate. To demonstrate that our strength can be controlled. Vexamar leaned forward. And if we deny you entry to the galactic community? What then? Then we stay in our corner of space, Minho replied. We respect your decision. But understand this. The universe doesn't care about your rules. There are things out there that don't ask permission, things that see your civilized nature as weakness. When those things come, and they will come, you'll need someone who can fight them, someone who doesn't break easily. Is that a threat? Thelvan demanded. No, Minho said quietly. It's a promise. We're not asking to join you because we need you. We're asking because you might need us. The chamber erupted in debate. Arguments filled the air in 100 languages. Some counselors called for humanity's immediate acceptance. Others demanded they be quarantined to their home system forever. The debate raged for hours. Finally, Vexamar called for a vote. The result was clear but uncomfortable. Humanity could join the galactic community. They could travel the space lanes and trade with other species. But human military vessels had to maintain minimum distances from civilian populations. Humans would be watched, studied, monitored. Minho accepted the terms without argument. As he left the chamber, he passed Thelvan. You won today, Captain, the ambassador said quietly. But I will be watching. The moment your kind shows its true nature, the moment you prove me right, I will see you expelled from civilized space. Minho looked at the ambassador with tired eyes. I hope you never see what happens when civilized space needs uncivilized solutions, Ambassador. Because when that day comes, you'll understand why we are the way we are. He walked away, leaving the chamber in uncomfortable silence. Above them, through the transparent dome, the stars glittered peacefully. None of them knew that peace would shatter soon. None of them knew that a distress call was already racing toward human space, carrying with it the screams of the dying and the sounds of the Kresh swarm. And none of them knew that the monsters they feared would soon become the monsters they needed.